Alright everybody, and welcome to The Expanse, a Telltale series. Before we get started, full disclosure, I was given a copy of the game for review purposes via keymailer. So, if you don't know what keymailer is, it's basically a third-party site that hooks up content creators with developers in order to get their games reviewed and or showcased on many different platforms. If you yourself are a creator and wanting to get in on the program, I will leave a link down in the description. But with that out the way, let's go ahead and check out the game, shall we? And so what is The Expanse? Well, it's a video game based off of a TV show on Amazon Prime. I actually do enjoy the series. There was a couple seasons that were meh, but for the most part it was a fun watch. I recommend it for sure. Now, the game is a Telltale series, which if you've played The Walking Dead, Borderlands, or even The Wolf Among Us, you will definitely know what this means. For those of you that haven't, usually the guidelines for a Telltale series goes like this. You go into the game with a ton of story. It's basically like playing a movie, as well as giving you a ton of options that affect the outcome of the game, on top of a ton of quick time events and some really good looking graphics. And this game is no exception. So when the game starts, you're given the opportunity to speak with the captain and learn about your mission before moving on to the tutorial.
It's another wreck.
It's not just any wreck. The UNNR Shinabi. Dropped off the map less than a week ago. No distress call.
The tutorial is pretty simplistic, moving your character around, examining all the things, learning a bit of backstory, as well as meeting the crew, which is a pretty interesting group of people. The first person we meet is Khan. Now, Khan acts as your pilot throughout the game, and pretty colorful language on this one.
Oh dear, I made the lackey upset. Forgive me.
The next person we meet is Virgil, the ship's medic. Now, they allude to a not so pleasant past. However, you're gonna have to discover that for yourself.
Do we want to invite that kind of attention?
We'll be fine.
The next crew members we get to meet are the twins, Arlen and Ryan. These two act as your basic crew, doing all the labor, the gathering, the salvaging, and any other tasks that the captain might have for them.
I'm tired of rooting around in the dumpster for that Inya.
Cox promised us a real payday. He said, give me 3 months, and you never have to work again.
Lastly, we meet Maya, who acts as the ship's engineer.
I'm busy. You're late. Quit tinkering and get your helmet. We're about to push off.
As for us, we fill the role of Kamina Drummer, the XO of the ship. And her job is not an easy one, as we're going to be forced to make some pretty interesting choices down the road.
Where are you going to go, Kamina? Huh?
Anywhere but here. With anyone but you.
Hate me all you want. You are many things, Beltaloda, but you are not a traitor. You love your belt, and right now, belt is me.
after meeting the crew, it's time to head out into space and explore. Now, the game does have 0G. You're allowed to fly around. One of the cooler things is the grav boots, which allow you to walk on the walls, the ceilings, although in space, it's all relative. One of the things I did note as I was flying around in space was the fact that when you walk past floating objects, your character actually interacts with them and pushes them out the way, which I thought it was a cool attention to detail. But with all that out the way, being as I don't want to spoil too much of the story for you, we're going to go ahead and jump straight into the review portion. Let's jump right into a pro. Well, the game looks really good. The visuals themselves are really good. The atmosphere is great, especially the look of the ships. If you've seen the show, the ships look exactly like you would be expecting them to, as well as having a ton of little things around the ship that you can scan and search, giving you a ton of information about the ship itself and a little bit of its history, which is awesome. As for the cons in the visual section, I don't really have any this time. I haven't had any issues running the game at max frames, which I usually cap off at 60, although this time I didn't bother because I didn't need it. The game runs really well. I didn't notice any visual issues with like heads turning around the wrong way or anything like that. Really good job on the visuals. Our next pro, and probably for the first time in a review, is the audio. The atmospheric music is really good. They also have the theme music from the show in there, and I didn't feel wanting in any way. There's plenty of options for you to adjust these settings, which is great. I wouldn't expect anything else from a licensed game. Our next pro is definitely the story. So, the story felt like I was watching the show. It was really well progressed. There was no major points where I felt disappointed in what was happening. I was interested from beginning to end, and it left off on a nice little cliffhanger, making you really interested to see what happens next. Before we jump into a couple cons, I did want to state the length of the game. Now, this is neither a pro nor a con for me. And it's mainly because the game was a lot of fun. But it is extremely short. The game is, on average, about an hour and a half long. If you were to stop and listen to all the audio, and then also take the time to read all the mission logs and read up on the ship and all those things, you may be able to stretch it to 2 hours. But with consideration of the game going to be 5 episodes or more in the future, you're looking at least 10 hours of gameplay if you were to only play through each of the game's seasons once. With that in mind, if you're a Telltale fan, you know that if you go back through the game and make different choices, you'll end up with different outcomes, and experiencing each of those is a lot of fun. So you're at least going to double that, meaning you're going to get a ton of hours of gameplay, going back, getting all the achievements, as well as seeing the different story. And So it's hard for me to place it into a negative, but it's also not a positive considering there's only one episode out right now. So it's sort of middling. You're going to have to decide for yourself which category it falls into. So for me, the first con is definitely the tutorial. After you've beaten the game once, you're still given a tutorial and you can't shut it off. And this tutorial window is massive, taking up at least 20 to 30% of your screen at all times and constantly reminding you that you can press shift to sprint. Like, it's not something I enjoy seeing. After you've played through it once, you should be able to give the option of New Game Plus or something like that to where that is gone. I want that off my screen. I want to be experiencing the game as if I'm watching an episode on Amazon. Our next con, specifically for episode 1, is that because it is so short, the choices you make don't feel impactful enough. However, I'm expecting these choices to be useful later in the next couple episodes where they'll actually come into play. Towards the end of this episode, you do have the opportunity to see some of those choices make an alteration to some of the voice lines that are made. However, they don't seem to change the outcome of the first episode. So, it still falls into a negative for me. I would have liked to have seen these actually give you a bit more impact. But with all that out the way, we now come to the rating. For me, it's definitely an 8. It has to be. I had so much fun playing this. I've already played through twice, and I still haven't seen all of the dialogue options. And I'm looking forward to, because of the cliffhangers, the wanting more information on the characters, I want to see this next episode come out and be really, really good. I am in no way upset by the amount of time it takes to complete this episode, as in the next couple episodes, it'll be just like watching the series. I love this as an addition to the actual show. It's pretty awesome. Drummer was one of the better characters on the show, so her getting her own game, I am completely okay with that. That's great. It does have its flaws, obviously. The length of time, these are things that I can overlook because it was interesting from beginning to end. I would definitely say it's worth it. Now, some people are saying they're going to wait until all the seasons are out to go ahead and purchase it. That's fine for me. I want to experience them as they come out. It's the same way as if you were sitting down watching the show on television. You would watch one episode, wait for a week, watch a next one. However, these ones are coming out a little bit more stretched out than that. Supposedly by the end of September, we will have all the episodes rather, and they should be, if the first episode is any indication, a lot of fun. So would I recommend the game? Absolutely. Take the opportunity to check it out for yourself. A lot of fun, and there is a ton of replayability in any Telltale game. And what this game has done is given me the urge to go back and play some of the Walking Dead. But with all that said and done, that is going to do it for us here today. I know this was a bit of a shorter review, but it's also a bit of a shorter game. So, thank you everybody for stopping out. I greatly appreciate you. hopefully you're enjoying the content and the reviews, and you'll come back again real soon for even more. But until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, stay healthy out there, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.